Under the blazing sky, the long-sleeved pajamas were hot. I felt strongly out of place, gazing at the schoolyard. Hello, PolishLynx here. Narcissu sighed second again. We are with Setsumi, of course. After standing there for a while, I once again began to walk. However, not towards the hospital, at home. And once I returned to my room, I took out the sailor uniform that had been in my dresser. Sleeves that I hadn't passed my arms through in 3 years, and just like new uniform. Previously, they had been worn for only a single week, and now, to me, were the only clothes other than pajamas I own. Once again, walking under the blazing sky, the noisy cicadas and running sweat was the same as just before. But the people who walked by, their eyes did not pause upon me. Even I, as a part of the backdrop of the city, as a part of what builds up everyday life, felt accepted. And then, when I entered the schoolyard from earlier, before my eyes was a metal bar for small children to play with. I extended my hands toward it. Placing strain into my arms, I pulled with all my might and kicked at the ground. A momentary sensation of floating, and my body spins around. It's still okay. I whispered that aloud for some reason while I looked around from atop the bar. The strong sunlight made the playground seem white, and the heat made the ground look wavy. Occasionally I could hear the voices of happy children, and the insistent voices of cicadas declaring that summer was their season. With my arms already beginning to shake from supporting my weight, I sagged up, present. Why was it that I suddenly wanted to do this, I wonder? The exact reason, not even I knew. By now, the times I wore anything but pajamas dwindled. The pressure from the need to do otherwise had also disappeared. Did I find that to be sad? Or perhaps I wanted to test if I still had the strength. I should be the same as everyone. Should be the same as the normal people who were over there. So just from a somersault around the bar, I shouldn't be making such a strange face. Because I felt that way, I forced myself to make a smile. But just as I was unable to stop the shaking of my arms, it seemed that too was difficult for me.
Narcissus.
But even though it was still morning, the asphalt looked wavy from the heat. Today also looked like it would be a hot day, and in that, as always, I headed towards the hospital alone. With this distance, even though I would have gone in pajamas, when I had to go out, I've come to wear my sailor uniform. Most likely, I was still wavering. How long this wavering will continue, not even I knew. One day I may suddenly just be able to give up. It was just that I had come to think that the span of 3 years was more than enough time for a person to change. Then, passing by that school and as the entrance to the hospital was before my eyes, the button is falling off. In my hands was a small tote bag. I noticed that the button that held the handle was fraying off. How long it had been like that, I didn't know, but coming all this way, I wasn't going to go back home. So I held the bag to my chest and continued walking towards hospital. The usual doctor, the usual exchanges, and today's examination ended. When my body's condition was stable, it was once a week. 3 times a week seemed to be a sign of a short hospitalization. With this week's examination was over, as I thought that I headed towards the exit on the first floor. In the afternoon the doctors weren't seeing patients, so the halls were mostly empty. Occasionally a doctor would walk by with a group of intern-like people in tow. Nurses rushed to the first aid window. A patient, probably under dietary restrictions, was in the shop buying snacks. Their wristband was visible green, which I heard was for digestive disorders. All of this was just the ordinary, everyday hospital. And in front of that shop was the first time that I met her. Hey, you. Huh? Suddenly a bright voice called out to me and surprised me. Turning around before me was the pajama-clad figure of one son I didn't recognize. I had thought it might have been someone I met while I was admitted here, but I didn't recall the face or figure. Yes. That button. It's falling off, you know? As she spoke, she pointed at my tote bag. It might have been a simple act of kindness, but since I had already noted the problem, I had trouble finding her blind. Why, yes, it is. Why is this? That's it? You've nothing else to say? Thank you. As I spoke, I lowered my head a bit, because I already knew my reply came out hesitantly, but even then it was too difficult to say thank you very much. The one I saw that I hadn't seen before, her long black hair and bright voice left an impression. Looking at her slippers, the kind provided by the hospital, she was probably not an outpatient, but admitted. Looking at her thin wrist, her wristband was white. That was a color I hadn't seen before. Say, how about I fix it for you? Huh? I have a sewing set. But at her sudden words I hesitated, but not over a button that didn't mean much. These past few years, because my existence was always only being erased, I've had absolutely no experience with someone actively trying to relate with me. Don't worry about it. Look, come here. Don't worry, it's not like it will be a weird place. With those words, she started walking briskly, and while wrapped in mixed feelings, I followed behind. We got into the elevator. Without a word, she pressed the button for the highest floor. 7th floor. Oh, do you know about it? Not much. The 7th floor, the place they called the hospice. I wasn't too familiar with it, and of course, I've never been there. For one thing, I heard that people not involved with it were barred from entering. It probably meant that if this honest son here were headed to the 7th floor, she was a person from there. Soon, the elevator reached its stop, and right in front of the door was the nurse's station. And when the doors opened altogether, the gazes of the nurse turned toward us. This is someone I know. With that one sentence, they once again went back to their work. No one looked towards us anymore. It was just my first time here. The place, the Onesan, finally took me to look like a lounge area. It was very different from the 3rd floor or other floors that I've been admitted to. Those didn't have these sofas or the TV. I'll fix this for you quick, okay? With that, she took my tote bag and, with what seems like a practiced hand, began fixing the button. And like her, I sat down on the sofa and watched. Even if I looked around, there were few signs of people. Occasionally an elderly or helper-like person going by was about all. By the way, did you catch a cold, or you were visiting someone? Right now, I'm an outpatient. I hesitated over how to answer, but said the truth. I added that I had just been discharged recently and was an outpatient now. I see. Looks like you've got it hard too. By the way, what club are you in? Club? Well, it's supposed to be summer break, right? As she spoke, she pointed at my uniform. You've been in the hospital, so maybe the literature club, or maybe the manager of sports club? Not really. I'm not in any. Oh, that's an unexpected answer. Is it that you hate pajamas? At this sudden perceptive question, I couldn't find the words to respond with. It's not that I hated pajamas, but I sensed that the precise reason would be difficult to put into words. And what that One-san had asked was probably aimed straight at that. She hadn't simply been asking whether I liked pajamas literally. One-san, you're someone from here? Yeah, even though I like this, I'm a resident of the 7th floor. I guess the short of it is someone whose death has been confirmed. That which I had only known on the level of rumors was now clearly spelled by a resident of the 7th floor. She used the word death in such bright and relaxed tones. At the least, it didn't seem like I could comprehend. This person, what on earth could her thoughts be? Hey, if it's alright with you, come again to play. Me? There's nothing to do, and it's boring. Plus, for here, visiting hours go until late. And with that, she told me various things about the 7th floor. Up until now, it had been vague, but it seems that the rumors that it was a place to wait to die were true. There are other rules, but I can't say anymore. Why? Well, that should be obvious. Because you are not a resident of this place. It was only then, when she whispered that, did her face cloud. I felt that expression held loneliness, and seemed filled with intensity as well. Right now, I was wearing these clothes stamped with the lingering regret for once normal days. And unlike myself, this One-san, no, these residents of the 7th floor, had probably given up on everything, and already had made up their resolve. Well, even if it's just when you come for examination, drop by. Since, no matter how hard I try, there is only about half a year left. She said that, and by way of farewell, she once more turned her cherry face towards me. Long black hair, white wristband, and a bright, relaxed way of talking were my impressions. Still, neither of us knew the other's name. My 15th summer. This was our first meeting. Hot. A few days later again I visited the hospital. However, it wasn't like it was an examination day. If it's alright with you, come to play. The words of the One-san I met a few days ago, maybe because I was somehow concerned about that 7th floor place, or maybe I was curious for some reason. I came to the highest floor. With a nod to the nurses who looked my way, I made my way to the door that the One-san had told me. Oh, yes. Come in. I came. Welcome. I have been waiting. Come, sit. It was a hot day, wasn't it? Sneak up in her bed, she offered the folding chair next to her. The first room on the 7th floor that I entered felt a little different from the 3rd floor rooms I was used to. Sorry for the trouble, but you know, I'll share that it can. You've got plenty of time, after all. Why did you jump to that conclusion? Because our job as the sick is to sleep, right? There's no other people in the world with such much free time as us. Oh, you don't think so? And the answer will be in next episode. I hope you enjoyed the story so far, and see you in the next one. Bye.